Welcome everyone, and hello to all of you beautiful people out there. Once again, we bring you one of the Cabbage critiques that we have on hand here. As always, it's your favorite Southern Californian son, DJ, along with my friends, my buddies, my pals, my amigos, my other words for friends. Hi, Karl.
Hey, DJ.
Hi, Jacob.
Hello.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. How you fellas doing today?
Pretty good. Yeah.
How about you, Karl?
I'm fine.
It's good to hear. Good to hear. So today we will be talking about one of my favorite movies. As a you audience watching this, we got to talk last week. We talked about one of. Would you say it's one of your favorite movies, or just a movie you really enjoy?
I say one of my favorites.
Okay.
Yes.
We talked about one of Jacob's favorite movies, Scott Pilgrim, and now we're gonna talk about one of my favorite movies. And next time, well, it's not a movie, but we'll be talking about one of Carl's favorite shows. Would you say that, Carl?
It's one of my favorites, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be talking about a person of interest, or poi.
That's what the cool people call it.
Poi. But yes, Karl, my friend,
Mm.
give us some background on the movie we're doing today, How to Train Your Dragon.
Well, interesting. The book series by Cassida Colwell began coming to attention to executives at DreamWorks Animation in 2004. Coming off of her success of Over the Edge, producer Bonnie Harold shortly became interested in a newly acquired property. She kept focusing on the project as time went on, and when DreamWorks Animation co-president of production Bill Damanis asked her what she wanted to work on next, she said How to Train Your Dragon. During initial development, the plot followed the original novel closely, but halfway through the production, Chris Sanders and Dean Boyes, previously writers and directors of Disney's, how ironic, Lilo and Stitch.
Hey!
It's kind of funny. DJ just watched that today again.
The other day, but yes.
Yeah. Took over as co-directors, and it was altered. The original plot has been described by Boyes as a heavy loyalty to the book, but was regarded as too sweet and whimsical and geared toward younger demographic. In the novel, Hiccup Dragon Tulus is believed to be a common or a garden dragon, a small breed. In the film, Tulus is a injured night fury, the rarest of species of dragon, far faster, aerodynamic, and more powerful than any species, and large enough to serve as a flying mount for Hiccup and Astrid. The film hired cinematographer Roger Dean, known for frequent collaboration with the Coen brothers, as visual consultants to help with the lighting and overall look of the film to add a live action feel to it. Extended research has done into both flights, as directors knew they would it would be a big drew for I guess this movie. I forgot this movie was in 3D initially.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
it was.
And the fire-given animation could break away from the illumination seen in live-action films. When propane film was used due to early to extinguish, the dragon's designs made up to make sure to create animals that could comically or at least inventively compare to other dragons of fiction. Tulus in particular tried to combine various dragon traits in a Black Panther-inspired design, with the large ears and eyes to comb or emotions better. The director made sure to cash in an improving ability of secondary casts by frequently bringing them together in recording sessions.
Thank you, Karl.
And one thing I'll say about the music was Jerome Powell returns to DreamWorks Animation to score How to Train Your Dragon, making his sixth collaboration with the studio following Ants, The Road to El Dorado, Chicken Run, Shrek, and his previous score for Kung Fu Panda.
5 goated movies, 1 dog water movie.
And it's definitely made its money back.
Oh yeah, I could have told you that one.
And as of 2019, the franchise has grossed over $1 billion worldwide.
Yeah, because they can't stop making stuff for it. Seriously, they have 3 movies.
I think we were talking about this off camera, but they made so much.
We had talked about this. They have like 3 or 4 games, like 4 or 5 shows.
No, only 3 shows.
With multiple seasons.
Yes.
I swear they were given different titles, but
Oh yeah, they have subtitles, which season 1 of the DreamWorks Dragons was Riders of Berk, season 2 was Defenders of Berk, and seasons 3 through 8 were the Riders of Race to the Edge. DreamWorks Dragons Rescue Riders. The first 2 seasons and a special were called the Rescue Riders, and the season 3 through 6 was Seasons of Sky, and DreamWorks and DreamWorks Dragons: The Nine Realms, all 5 seasons for the Nine Realms.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of crap, and there was even some specials too. But today we're only talking about the first movie.
Yeah.
In a vacuum. But yeah, this was like near the end of like the 3D craze that Hollywood went through. But yes, but before we get into it, you had mentioned that this movie made its money back. Give us a quick rundown of the budget.
Okay, back to the the budget for the film was $165 million. It made $449.9 million.
So,
That's at least tripling it.
Let's see. I have a calculator right next to me.
I'm not
Let's
good
see.
with the maths.
it's way
It's-
different than when we were talking about Scott Pilgrim.
Oh yeah, because
The movie
Scott
was a
Pilgrim.
failure.
Yeah, I mean, we critically said that it was a good movie, but box office wise, yeah, it didn't do so good.
Let's see. I'm almost done with the math.
No problem.
First
Yeah,
went to the animation. That was amazing.
I have it now. It made almost 2.99939 infinitely times its money back.
So pretty close to 3 times his money.
Pretty much, pretty close.
Yeah.
And in
I'm
the
gonna
industry,
send.
we call that instant sequel.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm going to send DJ this number just to show how long this number was.
Yeah, it's 2.9939
There you go.
99339393939
Yeah.
infinity.
Pretty much.
So yeah, this movie was a success, at least financially. But let's get into it, and then we can talk about what we think about it critically. So obviously, like you had mentioned, this movie was originally supposed to be very closely related to the book of the same name.
Which
Although,
I remember reading a little bit of when I was younger. It wasn't really much like the book.
Yeah.
From what I remember.
yeah, the final product of the movie is very different from the book. We're not going to get too deep into like the book itself because that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the movie.
We kind of made that problem last time. We got too deep into the book versus the movie, which they were actually kind of somewhat similar.
I blame you, Jacob.
Yeah, that was an oops on my end.
They have some similarities, but for the most part, you can kind of consider them to be different properties almost. But let's get into it. So we open up on the island of Berk, which is somewhere in Norway, Scandinavia, Vikings, somewhere around there. This is where God of War took place. And we're introduced to this island by our narrator, Hiccup, who's played by name that escapes me.
Jay Berkman?
Something like that.
I'll send you his name and you'll figure out how to say stupid name.
That would be very nice. Oh,
Jay Birchall. You're Jay Birchall.
Yeah, we're gonna go with that.
Yeah.
Yes, played by Jay Birchall. And we get introduced to this island and find out that it's got a dragon problem. That dragons routinely come here and just take the livestock and just absolutely just wreck houses, go absolutely ham. And these people are just all about the killing dragon life, which, I mean, to a certain extent makes sense. But poor Hiccup, he is not athletically gifted. Is that even the right word?
Considering he's the son of one of the strongest men in the entire.
He's a wimp.
Yeah, he's.
He is. He makes me look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, he is not. I mean, in the head area, he's probably one of the smartest there, but in the muscle area, not quite. But during this dragon raid, Hiccup tries to prove that he can kill a dragon to everyone else who just looks down on him. And during this, he accidentally shoots down the rarest dragon in this fictional universe called a Night Fury, which I believe we've all, considering how he's become the mascot of the series, pretty much. I'm pretty sure we all know what that is.
Yeah, well, Night Furies are like they're different. If you look at other dragons, they're very like, if you look at Legends, they look like the dragons from Legends.
Yeah,
they don't look like rough, big fat dragons like some of the other ones are.
Yeah,
they're a lot more graceful.
They're very sleek. They're like Karl mentioned, they're very aerodynamic. I believe, at least, I don't know if it was specifically in this movie, but in a How to Train Your Dragon property, the animation for the Night Furies, or this one in particular, which we'll get into later, was like the animation was based off the animator's cat.
Oh, I said it was. Where was that again?
Yeah, like it's based off of Black Panther.
Yeah, Toothless is in particular tried to combine various dragon traits in a Black Panther inspired design that also had large ears and eyes to convey emotion better.
Yeah, and you can see that when in scenes, Toothless will be very emotional.
Yeah, like
Reason he's very cute is because
yeah.
the big eyes.
It was
And-
it was part of the technical artistry of dragons for the How to Train Your Dragon Blu-ray copy.
Thank you, Carl. And you can definitely see through Toothless's mannerisms that he is very cat-like, very very agile. So it would only make sense.
He's also very curious.
Yes,
But
but
he
we'll
always,
get
but he never lands. He never always lands on his feet.
yeah that's not something that carried over. But we'll get to that in a minute. So Hiccup says that he has shot down this legendary beast, but no one really believes him.
Well,
I mean,
because he's almost destroyed the town how many times?
yeah, I mean, it's like you said, old village, lots and lots of new houses.
Like I think one of the dragons threw fire at him and knocked the dad knocked the dragon off, and the tower he Jacob was saying fell down and destroyed a bunch
It
of.
fell down and it freed the other dragons that they had captured. They all got away, undoing everything. It was a mess. It was a mess. So yeah, no one believes Hiccup.
Rightfully so.
The important thing is though, when he shot down the dragon, he kind of just broke off its wing.
Yeah,
So now it can't
like
fly.
because I mean, does anyone here know how flight works?
Yeah.
Birds do.
Good job, Carl.
And dragonflies and butterflies and flies and bees and wasps and
Somehow
yellow
bees.
It's like that meme that the meme where it goes like, "Hey, I can recognize birds." It's like, what is this? That's a bird.
Oh, that's definitely a bird.
Yep. That's definitely a bird.
Oh God, is this the part where we start just reciting like the intro to Bee Movie? That's another
No.
DreamWorks movie.
No, we're not. We'll review that someday.
You do that, I'm kicking you out and never letting you back in.
That's fair.
Okay, but how about we do B movie with sometime?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
no,
A buzz, you know?
Absolutely.
not.
It's a classic.
Buzz, 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 buzz.
No, no, no.
Why not?
Because it's a stupid movie.
It's just a
Okay,
bee.
but all movies are stupid in concept.
That one is particularly stupid.
The B movie really speaks to environmentalism, you know?
Yeah,
It speaks of stupidity.
and it speaks to law films, of course. It really ranks among there as
Yeah.
one of the greatest pieces.
Anyways, that's another DreamWorks classic. We'll get to that one later.
Yes.
Not
But- but But continuing on, so like I said, Hiccup doesn't fit in. He's pretty much an outcast from his own people because he's never killed a dragon before. He's not good at it. He's not even compared to his peers. He's not good.
Even what's the guy's name? The big guy.
Gobber.
Yeah, Gobber. Even Gobber is slaying dragons.
Yeah, despite the fact that he's missing quite literally an arm and a leg. But I mean, Hiccup swears that he shot down this Night Fury, so he sneaks out and he goes to go look for it because he wants to prove everyone wrong. He wants to prove that hey, I just killed this legendary dragon. So he ventures out into the woods, and after hours and hours of not being able to find anything, he finally finds it. He finally finds it, still completely trapped, having knocked down trees and all that, made a little crater, everything. And so this is finally his opportunity. This is his chance to be the Viking that his entire village wants him to be. But as he goes to kill this dragon, he looks it in the eye, and he says this later in the movie, but he looked him in the eye and he saw himself. His words, not mine. But he can't bring himself to kill this dragon for whatever reason. He just can't. And this is actually one of my favorite parts of the movie here. One of my favorite parts of the score in this movie, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's something that's often ignored when people talk about it. Is how great the music is.
Absolutely. But he frees this Night Fury, and despite the fact that he is given this dragon every reason to just kill him, he doesn't. I mean, he suffers a traumatic experience, but that's about it. 3 broken eardrums won't harm a thing.
Yeah.
And after this, Hiccup returns back to the village, and we catch up with his father, who is the chief, Stoic, and he is planning a big old field trip, pretty much, to go find the nest of the dragons and just absolutely destroy it, just cut the dragon head off at its source, But obviously, that means he's going to be gone for a while, and his poor bow-legged son is going to have to be all alone. But Gobber, who is Stoic's friend, suggests that, hey, set him up in dragon training. And Stoic's very antsy about this because he just thinks he's going to get killed, But, he almost kind of agrees with most of the village that, this kid's really got nothing going for him.
It's kind of sad, honestly. His own dad doesn't believe in him.
Yeah. But after some convincing, he finally buckles down, right? As Hiccup decides that he doesn't want to kill dragons.
And then gets signed up in dragon fighting school.
Oh, what a twisted web we weave. Because now he doesn't want to kill dragons, he wants to study them. And after the first day of training, we actually get another one of my favorite scenes of the movie is where he actually looks through the Book of Dragons. Because through every page he flips through, you can actually, it's very faint, but you can actually hear the dragon's roar embedded in the background for every page it turns to. But then he finds the page on Night Furies. It's blank. Other than like the one quote that the author left, being the unholy offspring of lightning and death itself, never engage this creature. Pray and hope that it does not find you, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's interesting because he has a Night Fury. He knows where one is at the moment. And there's nothing on in the book. It's like, oh, well, I'm gonna find more about this thing.
Exactly. It sparks a curiosity. I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, this thing is pretty much, like I said, a legendary creature. It might as well be a unicorn or a freaking Bigfoot or whatever it may be. Because it's explained later on, later installments, that all the other Night Furies were killed off. Obviously, there's stuff later on that we're sticking to the first movie.
Yeah.
So the next day, he goes and tries to find this Night Fury again. And in this little lagoon area, where, like, what do we call it? A cove?
Yeah, kind of.
Help me out here, Carl. I need some terminology here.
Because
Because you know what I'm trying to say.
A crater. It works. It's a crater.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's like a bowl.
It's a hole with a big enough hole to where the dragon can't fly out of the hole he got himself in.
Yeah, because like Jacob mentioned, when this Night Fury was shot down, it clipped part of his tail wing, and he can't fly properly anymore. He quite literally can't escape from this little area that he's stuck in.
He locked himself in his own prison of his own making.
Yeah, he's kind of screwed upon all levels. But Hiccup finds him here and goes to study him, and you realize that hey, this dragon can't fly anywhere. And this is when he starts visiting day after day after day, just studying more and more. But he also tries to engage this dragon. He brings him fish, and he finds out that dragons don't like eels, stuff like that.
Nobody does.
You ever had an eel, Jacob?
No, I never actually eaten eel before. I've seen them; they look gross.
I mean, Carl, you've been on plenty seafaring trips. Have you ever eaten eel before?
No, they've never served eel.
Would you if it was offered to you?
No, it does not sound like a very electrifying experience for me.
What about you, Jacob? If it was offered to you, would you eat eel?
Okay, if they told me it was eel, right? Probably not. But the thing is, if I didn't know it was eel, I probably would be fine with it.
I mean, it probably tastes like chicken. Everything tastes like chicken.
Chicken is just a universal food.
Chicken is like the standard bearer when it comes to meat.
Also, apparently frog legs and stuff taste like chicken. So pretty much anything it tastes like chicken at this point.
I believe it. But back on track. And then, Hiccup finally gets the idea, like I said, he starts almost sort of bonding with this dragon. Like he goes and feeds it, shows that he's not a threat. And then he gets the brilliant idea to make a synthetic, prosthetic, not synthetic. Although I guess it's kind of synthetic, sort of.
Synthetic is like anything man-made. Synthetic is anything pretty much man-made.
Yeah, like it works. But yeah, a prosthetic wing, tail wing to help Toothless fly. But obviously, these are Iron Age Vikings we're working with. It's not exactly, I mean, by their standards, it's quite ingenious, but obviously there's still limitations, and that limitation is that Toothless can't fly anywhere without someone riding on him to control that tail. And after a few failed attempts, by the power of montage, which is the ultimate way to encapsulate time within a movie.
Just like the Rocky movies.
Yeah, exactly.
No, what Hiccup should have done after the montage? Give Toothless a cookie with aspirin in it.
Aspirin?
Well, yeah, because he kept landing on his head.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, like honestly, both of them should have some level of concussion, like even if it's a minor, like bro, they got messed up.
Yep, and the cookie should come from your house, EJ.
No, we're not. No, we almost got past it too. We almost got past it.
I wasn't gonna say it.
I almost slipped right by. I almost diverted it. I almost parted it like Moses through the Red Sea.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say it, but I knew who's thinking it was like that.
But no. I despise you, Carl, and your cookies.
Oy vey.
Mm.
Imagine if this is someone's first time watching and they have no idea what we're talking about.
Nope.
Yeah, if we're back to the, I don't know how many videos you posted at this point.
Yeah, Carl just wants people to come to my house to get cookies. Why?
I don't know. This is interesting.
But moving on. During this, Hiccup finds out a lot about dragons. They're not just bloodthirsty creatures, they're just more like actual animals. And he even uses the stuff that he learns within, his dragon biting practice. And, the whole village is starting to, their opinion is starting to turn on him. They're
All
actually
but
starting-
one. All but one.
Yeah, all but one, but we'll get to that in a second. Like they're actually starting to see him as, as a person now. God.
Yeah, he was
Oh,
just scum before, but now they're like, maybe
Well,
he's not scum.
I understand why they did. Every time he stepped out of the house, bad things happened.
I mean,
It'd be like if
Given the
me and
fact
you,
that-
it'd be like if you and me went to the church, and every time Bob stepped onto the church, some light fixture fell or something bad happened every time he stepped into the church.
maybe Toothless
like-
was like reverse bad luck, despite the fact he's supposed to look like a black cat.
Toothless took Hiccup's bad luck from him.
Yeah, he like absorbed it or whatever.
And we see later in the series, he just cares for him a lot and
Yeah.
helps him out.
Yeah, it's really touching.
Yeah,
But
It-
yeah, like
they're perfect for each other.
yeah, and the whole village is actually starting to really admire him. In fact, once Stoic and the other Vikings return empty-handed on their voyage, we get one of my favorite jokes in the movie where people are going up to him and saying, we were so relieved, out with the old, in with the new, and stuff like that. And he's like, he dead? Like, oh, it's better within the context of the movie, but it was freaking funny. But yeah, like I said, Hiccup's actually learning about these dragons. He's understanding them like no other Viking has. Although there's one tiny itty bitty little problem that happens. So one of his, I guess, classmates. That's the right term.
You could say like classmates, kind of, because they're in school, right, training for it.
Yeah. Who is all about the dragon fighting? Astrid, played by America Ferrera. For America Ferrera. Oh,
Yeah.
can you double check that for me?
Yeah, America Ferrera.
Okay, cool. I was really scared I was gonna say something like America Ferrari or something. But yes, Astrid. She is what's the best way to describe her?
Nicely or accurately or both?
Find a middle ground.
She is in the
Abrasive.
beginning.
Yeah,
Okay,
abrasive.
I was gonna call her a female dog, but that works too.
Yeah, she is very abrasive. I feel like that was the perfect way to describe it. She's not angry, but she's very aggressive. That's another one. And I mean, she was pretty much the premier dragon fighter amongst all the younger generation before Hiccup showed up and pretty much started stealing her thunder. And she got very upset by this. So one day she decided to follow him out to, this crater, Karl.
How else would you describe it?
I don't know, but
I'd say a little part of the forest.
it's just, his little hidey hole.
Yeah.
But follows him out there, just pretty much interrogating, like trying to see who's quote unquote training him. And then, she finds out the fact that, he's been training this Night Fury, like the ultimate prize for a dragon hunter, pretty much. And she's, I guess, reasonably freaked out.
Like, how'd you catch this thing?
Exactly. And after that, they're like, all right, let's just skip town. Let's get the hell out of here. We had a good run, but to stop Astrid from pretty much telling on them, just absolutely.
He dropped her and picked her up and dropped her in a tree.
Yeah, freaking Hiccup gets on Toothless. Toothless grabs her and drops her at a treetop, like freaking 140 feet in the air.
And then gets on the tree, so it
bends.
And if they were not careful, if Hiccup got Toothless off that tree, she would have gone bye.
And the thing
This
is, he was also innocent. I'm
Go
pretty
ahead,
sure. I'm pretty sure he was innocent there.
Oh yeah, like it's Hiccup told him to do this, but just Toothless just took matters into his own hands. Even though Hiccup is desperately trying to prove that hey, this dragon is a bloodthirsty monster.
Which kind of shuts down that stereotype of the night. What are they called?
The Night Fury.
Night Furies being really violent.
Yeah, like I said, the unholy offspring of lightning and death itself. That has a very negative connotation to it.
And then you meet one, you're like, oh, this guy's nice.
Yeah. But, Hiccup wants to prove to Astrid that, hey, dragons aren't all that bad. And so, this is where we get I don't want to call it a whole new world because it's not, but it's it's reminiscent of that.
Mhm.
If anyone's ever seen Aladdin, but Astrid, gives him a chance, and Toothless, well, first starts out by freaking almost dropping her again, and then just absolutely just dogs her through the water. But then finally, we actually get like I said, this is a very awesome scene in my opinion. It's beautiful looking with the sunset and the clouds, and I love it.
Movie from 13 years ago as well, which
Yeah,
kind of
like
shows
this
kind of-
movie came out in 2010, and I
and it
still think
still
it
looks
looks,
amazing.
yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Which is a pretty nice accomplishment for a 3D animated film back in them days.
This is around the age of also Rango.
Yeah.
Which aged perfectly.
Yeah, I want to say Rango came out in 2009, something like that.
Yeah, we'll talk
yeah.
about Rango sometime.
Yeah, that would be a fun review to do. And yeah,
Okay, that one I agree. We will do that one.
yeah, Rango is an awesome looking movie. But back to the subject at hand. Yeah, we get a beautiful flying scene through the clouds. It's really, really pretty. And afterwards, a whole just flock, would that be the word? Or is it like crow, where it's like a murder of crows?
Murder of Crows, I think that's what it's
There's a
That's
flock
it.
of dragons.
I have no idea.
Let's just go with a group of dragons. There we go. All show up carrying their quarry, pretty much a bunch of dead carcasses. And Toothless, along with Hiccup and Astrid, follow them to the dragon nest that Vikings have been looking for apparently for over a century. For a very extremely long time looking for this nest.
Well, Toothless didn't go willingly.
Yeah,
He's got
it's like
a mind control switch in his head turned on.
yeah, it's like what's a good example?
Queen bees.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's. I'm gonna refrain from the B movie joke, but yes.
Good, because I'll kick you up again.
Yeah, it's very much like a queen bee, or like the queen alien from Aliens, or like the Indominus Rex or something like that. The big one, pretty much having control over the
Is it
smaller
called the
ones.
Red Dawn or something?
Yeah, something like that. It's called the Red Death in this movie.
Even though it's not red at all.
Yeah, why is that? It's gray.
Gray doesn't sound as imposing as the Red Death.
Yeah, my
Yeah, he looks
favorite.
scary though.
My favorite Flash villain.
That sucked in the 9th season of Flash.
But yes, they show up at the nest and they find out, holy crap, the big one, the Red Death, it is pretty much their queen. She controls the dragons, makes them just bring food to her. And honestly, the Red Death is awesome looking as
Yeah.
well. Like, I think it's pound for pound one of the coolest designs in the series. Although it's actually quite simplistic when you really come down to it. But Toothless and the others escape and they ride back to Burke. And Astra's like, holy crap. Like, we gotta go tell the others about this. But Hiccup is very adamant not to, because then he loses his friend, But the problem comes next day, because it's decided that out of everyone in the class, Hiccup is going to be the one to kill his first dragon in front of the entire village. And Hiccup, who is very adamant about not killing dragons now, since he is, grown to admire the entire species, pretty much, doesn't want to do this. So his plan is to quite literally show everyone in the village that they are not what they think they are.
You can
And-
probably guess how it's gonna go.
Yeah.
You know who I blame for his failure?
Who?
I blame his dad.
Yeah.
His
So-
dad has a bad reaction.
So we're here the next day. We're in the arena. Hiccup is faced with a monstrous nightmare, which is also one of the really cool dragons. It literally lights itself on fire. Like, that's metal right there.
Yeah.
But he's trying to show the entire village that, hey, they aren't what we think they are. But Stoic, who's obviously, like we have previously established, very cool with the dragon killing thing, he's the best at it. And he's very against this whole idea. So he grabs his big old hammer, smacks it against the metal bars of the stadium, and it just sends the monstrous nightmare just freaking bonkers.
That
And then
name also sounds like really scary.
the monstrous
Monstrous
nightmare. Yeah, they give these dragons in these movies freaking crazy names, because we have the Night Fury, we have the monstrous nightmare, we have the deadly natter, we have the hideous zippleback, and you just have the gronkle.
Imagine you're part of that class. You're just like Gronkle.
The gronkle.
And your
Isn't
teammates
that-
called the monstrous nightmare.
Isn't
What'd
that
you
the
say,
big
Carl?
one with? Isn't the Gronkle the big one with the tail?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like a pug.
Yeah, I don't mean to keep using a B bee analogy, but it's got like that bumblebee shape going on.
I was going for more big.
But yeah. Yeah, and obviously later in the series, you have stuff like the Whispering Death and stuff like that. So yeah, these dragon names are kind of crazy. But yeah, we have the Chronicle. But yeah, so chaos ensues. Right before the monstrous nightmare is able to finish off Hiccup, Toothless comes in from the save, having found the inner strength, I guess, via power of friendship. He's able to escape his little gorge. Or whatever, his area, his neck of the woods.
I thought he was hiding somewhere, like Hiccup was hiding him somewhere on the island.
No,
Not in the goal. I thought it was because one of the montages he's hiding him in the workshop.
Yeah, he does because he's trying to measure him to see, what he needs to fix his tail. But by this point, he's still hiding out in that little gorge area. Although it really makes you think, if Toothless was always so stuck in there, why couldn't Hiccup have taken him somewhere else?
Well, he didn't trust him initially.
Well, fair, but still. But via power of friendship, Toothless is able to escape and come to the rescue. Everyone's flabbergasted. But Toothless is eventually overpowered by just the gang of Vikings. Because Hiccup obviously doesn't want him to harm his dad either. He wants both parties to be, at peace with one another. But at this point, it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen. The Stoic finds out that Toothless is the key to finding the dragon nest, the one thing that he's been searching for this entire time. So this scene here is really hard to watch, honestly. But, after finding this out, he and Hiccup have a huge argument. And, by the end of it, he says, "You're not my son." Yikes.
No son of mine's gonna be no dragon-loving hippie.
Pretty much just up the drama tenfold.
Yeah, the drama in this movie is pretty good, though.
Yeah, and obviously after he says that, we can see a little bit of regret in his eyes for saying that. Like, he stops for a moment, but he continues on with his mission. The one thing that he's been trying to do for the past the majority of his life. And so Hiccup just feels like giving up. He's lost his best friend. There's nothing he can do now. But after a quick pep talk from Astrid, he finally musters the courage to teach the others how to ride dragons so they can go stop it, because they know that despite the fact that Vikings feel like they're prepared, they're not going to be able to defeat the Red Death. That thing is freaking huge. It's an actual kaiju. So he trains freaking EJ Miller and friends, his other confidants, classmates, friends ish, whatever, how to ride dragons. And they go race off to the nest. By this point, Zog and the other Vikings have found out, oh crap, this thing is going to kill us.
Yeah, because doesn't it destroy a bunch of ships?
Yeah, because they show up to the island, nothing's going on. They break open the side of the mountain. All the dragons fly out, and then out comes the Red Death, and it just absolutely just obliterates just all their ships and everything. And like it even sets fire to the ship that Toothless is strapped to. And part of it breaks off, and he begins to think. And obviously he's strapped in. He can't move anymore. He's gonna drown pretty much if nothing happens. So when Hiccup and the others get there, Hiccup just risks his life to go save him. He's not able to get the chains off, and he almost drowns himself. But in a change of heart, Stoic not only saves his son, but goes back and saves Toothless.
One thing I think is very underrated about this movie is how they portray, they were talking about how they played with they made Toothless an emotional character.
Mm-hmm.
When you watch the movie, you can completely tell that there is a change in both of them.
Yeah, because obviously when we first see Toothless in this movie, he acts very animalistic, which obviously makes sense. He was nearly killed.
Mm-hmm.
But the more we move on, we actually we can see the emotions. We can read, obviously Toothless doesn't have any speaking lines, but we can almost read what he's feeling,
But oddly, he has a voice actor.
Yeah, just no voice lines. They just hired the actor to make sounds.
Sounds like a job D. Bradley Baker would do.
Yep.
That's not him.
Jacob, how would you feel if Toothless was voiced by Troy Baker?
I hate it. Troy Baker plays Simon Krieger, one of the worst villains.
What if it was Nolan North? How'd that make you feel?
They're both in a bunch of things.
They're both in everything.
What if it was voiced by Yuri Lowenthal?
You know what, DJ? Put a picture of all four of these men up right now.
All right, I'm gonna put a picture.
I need a picture of Ulysses S. Grant, Kanye West, John
Sussy balls.
Cena and Xi Jinping right on the screen right now.
Okay, got you. I'm also gonna throw up a picture of like Carl said. Jacob said Yuri Lowenthal. I'm also gonna
Yeah.
put Steve. I'm also gonna put Steve Bloom up here.
Steve Bloom voices.
It's like the Mount Rushmore of like voice actors who are like in everything.
Yeah.
Oh God, D's in a lot of shit.
Yeah, D. Bradley Baker, Troy Baker, it makes you wonder. Steve Bloom, and Yuri's in a lot of stuff, but I wouldn't say he's in everything.
He's in a lot of stuff.
He's in a decent amount, but not everything.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be someone out there to round it out.
Yeah.
But continuing on, so yeah, we can see the emotions in Toothless face this entire movie, and it's frankly awesome. Like normally I have a problem with the anthropomorphization of animals, but I feel like when it comes to these fantasy dragons, I feel like that's prone to exception.
Yeah, all of them are very animated.
Yeah, like all of them have their own personality traits. All of them, you can tell that they're different.
Yeah.
But so here we come to the climax, the final battle. All the other dragon riders aren't able to do anything to the Red Death. It's like I said, it's a freaking kaiju. It's giant.
Except for the one guy who lost his dragon, he's just hitting him with a with a
Yeah, just
with an
hitting
object.
hitting in the eye with a hammer, and in like 3 of its 6 eyes.
He's trying his best.
I respect the commitment.
And then the big guy who's riding the
Gronkle.
uncle, when he gets hit, he's like, Lance, I'm okay, and then falls over. Ciao. Never mind.
Bro, that dragon probably weighs like freaking 600 pounds. How did he survive that?
Don't
Yeah.
know.
He should be dead. But like I said, here we are. Final climax. Hiccup and Toothless versus the Red Death. Obviously, they're not going to be able to take this thing pound for pound. So Hiccup on the fly.
Was an Iron Man 1.
Pretty much. Actually, yeah, quite literally. He has to use his brains to defeat the Red Death. And he does that by taking it high into the air because this thing can fly somehow.
Yeah, like
Seriously.
I remember in that scene, like even the audience is surprised that he can fly. Like, where'd the wings come out from?
This thing can fly.
I mean, if the Gronkle can fly, anything can.
I mean, yeah, I guess. And the wingspan on this thing is freaking crazy. But yeah, he takes him high into the air, and obviously Toothless has like the speed and like stealth advantage, so he like zips through the clouds and shoots fireballs at the Red Death from all different angles, and starts pretty much poking holes through the wings so that it can't really maneuver anywhere. And then he does a big old dive bomb, and the Red Death follows after him. And as the Red Death is slowly inching closer, it prepares to just burn the crap out of the two. But as it has its mouth open, Toothless turns around, fires back. Big explosion. I think Michael Bay would direct it. It made him shed a tear. And then the Red Death comes crashing down. And then suddenly it like freaking quadruples in size somehow because Hiccup and Toothless are flying past it for what seems like ages. But that's just cinematography for you. Yeah, it crashes down in a huge heap of fire and rubble and all kinds of crazy stuff. But as they're trying to escape, the tail hits Hiccup off Toothless and just falling into the fiery abyss below. And Toothless does the only thing he can do. He follows them, and we see them both fall into the big explosion. And after that, we pick up with Stoic just looking through the soot and the smoke and the flames and everything, looking for his boy, as Kratos would say. And he finds Toothless, and he just thinks that Hiccup died, that his son is dead. But at the very, very last moment, Toothless was able to save his
wing.
Yep,
Right.
lifts up his wing and shows them that he's alive. And that was like, I mean, we had the turning point moment earlier with Stoic going back to save Toothless from drowning, but this was like the one that really cemented it. Toothless just saved his son, and
And we can see that Toothless really cares.
yeah. And like we even see like they don't like directly interact, but we can see both dragons and Vikings like here, at this moment, not fighting for once. And so in the last scene of the movie, we pick up Hiccup is barely alive, but alive nonetheless. And we wake up in his house. And Toothless walks with him out, but he didn't quite leave unscathed. During the whole ordeal, he lost a leg. Like, holy crap!
That's the thing about this series is that they are really not afraid to do things like do violent things to characters.
Exactly. Like, there's consequences in these movies. Like, holy
And
crap!
that leads to different inventions that he has to do later in the series.
Like, holy crap! People die in these movies. Like obviously, this was the classic,
death fake out, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm perfectly fine afterwards. No, he lost a leg.
That's
You
permanent.
should have called him Leggy.
Yeah, yeah, he lost a leg, and you have a really cool visual of Toothless helping him walk out on his new prosthetic leg that he has. And then you see Toothless's tail flip around, and obviously it's missing the wing. So it's like what George Lucas said. It's like poetry.
And that's just really just visually really subtly emotional scene.
Also, it's
So-
accompanied by the great score.
Yeah. Like I cannot praise this movie's score enough. Like it's fantastic, just all around. My two favorite pieces are the one I mentioned earlier, the down dragon. I believe that's what it's called, and I don't know what the second piece is called, but it's during the scene where Toothless finally lets Hiccup put his hand on his head. That's like where they first really bond. I don't know what that part of the OST is called, but that's also one of my favorites. But yeah, and Hiccup walks out to pretty much a completely different world. Pretty much, I don't know how long he was out, but it was apparently long enough for people to be taught how to ride dragons. Like they're actually coexisting now. It's
Maybe Astro taught them.
I don't know, something like that. But
Maybe.
it's pretty much everything he could have wanted. Even his dad comes and says that. Well, he said this earlier, but he said, "I'm proud to call you my son." They reconcile, and it's honestly. You mentioned how this trilogy is very satisfying. And
Yeah.
even in its own little vacuums, like each movie individually have really satisfying endings.
Mm.
And obviously, we end this movie with a reinterpretation of the opening movie's narration, and that's it.
Yeah, narration actually is something that this movie did very well.
Yeah.
Sometimes, it's like that meme of "How did I get here?" That one.
Yeah,
You're probably wondering how I got here.
here.
Like that's because that's just bad monologue, or it's a
Internal monologue.
bad monologue. But this is a good.
This is a good
really one.
example.
Yes.
It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's informative when it needs to be, and it's even it's not story driven, but like relevant to the end of the movie thematically.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's How to Train Your Dragon. My words cannot do this movie justice. I would heavily recommend just going out there and watching it yourself. But what did you guys think?
It's probably it's my favorite DreamWorks trilogy because Shrek has. If we're talking about the Shrek movies, there are some stinkers. There's a stinker. There's a stinker. Which is technically part of the trilogy, part of the first three. And then you got the panda ones, which I like the first one and the second one. Third one's okay.
Yeah, not bad, but I do agree with you that sentiment that Kung Fu Panda 3 is a little underwhelming.
I think Kung Fu Panda, the problem was it started off like kind of like Dragons, where it was trying to go like starting off funny. Then the second one took a more serious direction. Then the third one just kind of was weird.
Yeah,
Didn't know what to do. But if you watch the third Dragons movie, you will be it's a full circle.
yeah.
You're like that's one of the most satisfying endings. I mean, we'll have to cover if we cover 2 and 3.
I would love to.
And honestly, going back, that was the last one I was satisfied watching in theaters. Spider-Man 1 didn't satisfy me at the end of the trilogy. I wasn't a huge fan of Kung Fu Panda. The Star Wars trilogy, I didn't like the ending of that trilogy either. So it was rare for me to say, yeah, I loved that movie. It was good to say at the end of a trilogy.
Had a little nice bow on everything.
Yeah.
Very much agreed. Very much agreed. What about you, Carl? What did you think of this movie?
It's not a bad movie at all. So the CGI still holds up pretty well to this day.
Yeah, honestly.
Did you grow up watching this movie? That's the question, Carl.
Me, I think I saw it when I was a kid. I think, not too sure.
I think that's actually one of the factors that leads to more enjoyment of it is if you grew up with it like I did. Because I remember that movie came out when I was 6, and I remember that series finished when I was 15. So for 9 years, that series it lasted for 9 years in movies.
Yeah.
So it felt like at the end of an era.
Yeah, almost kind of growing up with it.
Yeah, that's why I felt more attached to it. So it's probably why I like it more. For someone who's newer, probably is like, yeah, it was fun. There's always bias.
Yeah. If I had to list my favorite parts of the movie, it would have to be just the animation, the character portrayal specifically of Hiccup and Toothless, the score I already mentioned multiple times. It's fantastic, and the use of not choreography, but just the sequences in this movie are awesome. Like there's the flight scene where they pretty much fly down the mountain. It's and the
It's very
music
beautiful.
swells, and it's just pleasing to all the senses, minus smell. There's anything else if I had to add on to that? I really like how this movie, I don't want to call it flat out foreshadowing, but I like how smart it portrays Hiccup as. Because obviously we get it just thrown into our face multiple times that, he's a wimp. He's not very physically capable, but he's actually mentally capable, because he learns very quickly, and he applies it very quickly, like with the battle at the end with the Red Death. That's, like I said, I really want to use the word foreshadowing, but it's kind of explained earlier in the movie that dragons aren't fireproof on the inside, and that comes into play later on. So it portrays Hiccup as a really smart character, and I like that.
Another thing this movie does is it's also a commentary on masculinity. You have the stoic masculinity versus, there's different forms. I would still say that Hiccup is masculine, but is he traditionally masculine, like stoic? No. But
and they did it without like making fun of the guy, making fun of like you shouldn't be like the big tough strong Viking guy.
Yeah.
They did it respectfully.
Yeah, like they didn't smack you over the head with it.
I like that. I just like that it was a smart or a good portrayal of masculinity.
Yeah,
because not all of us are like bodybuilders.
Yeah,
a lot of us are just like a lot of men are really smart.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot I enjoy about this movie. What could I say? Was there anything else you guys wanted to throw onto that grill there?
No, not really.
Carl?
No, I've gotten both our jokes in early enough.
All right. Normally I don't usually do this, mostly because I kind of forget. But you had to give this movie a score on a scale of 1 to 10.
When was the last time we gave a movie a score?
Probably before we restarted.
Okay, well, we'll try it again then. I give this one an 8.5.
Carl?
8.4.
Oh, that's the most Carl answer I've ever heard.
Yeah, just one under mine.
I'd be so good to give it honestly a 9. Like, this movie's awesome.
Like, when I say 8.5, it's good. It's really good.
I'm not saying 8.5 isn't good, but I would give it a 9. So just slightly above what you guys gave it.
Okay, question though, why wouldn't it be a 10 for you?
Okay, if I had to talk about stuff that I didn't like about the movie, it's a very short list, but there's very few movies out there I'd give a 10. The side characters in this movie, while they do get better, they're kind of one-dimensional.
I have a problem with Astrid. I think that it's not developed well enough.
Obviously, she's more developed in the coming movies, and obviously, if you watch the show and all that, that's completely different. But within the scope of this movie, yeah.
It just doesn't she's basically verbally abusive to him, and then she suddenly is
she's
into
physically abusive.
I forgot how many times she punched him and then did something nice to him.
I think she kicked him in the balls too. I think that happened.
I don't know why he likes her. We see later in the series that they really love and respect each other.
Yeah.
But at this point, what?
I think it's mostly just the fact that they're like, I don't know how old they're in this movie. It's like 12, something like that.
I think so, 12 or 14.
Yeah, like somewhere in between there, like early teens, between something in there.
But when we get to the second one, that's going to be an interesting one to talk about how things changed.
Yeah, because obviously there's a several year gap because he's 18 or 19 in that movie. Like,
there's actually a show in between it, but we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah. Look, reviewing a whole show is not something we've had a good track record of doing.
It was also a really low budget Cartoon Network show that you know those are they look like bootlegs.
Yeah,
yet somehow sometimes they're extremely crucial.
I don't remember it being bad from a writing perspective, but from an animation perspective, obviously it doesn't hold up a candle to what the movie was.
A good example is, have you ever watched the King Julian show?
I see bits and pieces.
It looks really bad.
It looks choppy.
Even though because it doesn't have the budget, it doesn't even look like Penguins level quality. Bro. I mean, actually, it looks better than Penguins. Penguins didn't look very good.
No. Yeah, it felt like parts of it were missing.
Yeah, we're not talking about Penguins.
Yeah.
Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
But yeah, so yeah, the side characters are something I wish could have had more development on, because honestly, all of them are just like you said, annoying, and they kind of just suck because they're not even like friends with Hiccup.
No, they're just acquaintances.
That just like dog on him all the time.
Because he's a weakling.
Yeah, exactly. Other than that, something. This is just a pet. No, it's not even a pet peeve. It's a nitpick, and it doesn't take away from the score of the movie. But the fact that obviously we're introduced to this incredible world of just incredibly diverse dragons. In this movie, we only see a small fraction of what there is in the rest of the series. Like it's almost kind of jarring when you watch the later movies, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It's like the same 5 dragons.
Like, isn't it called the Bewilderbeast from the second one? We
Yeah.
never hear about that, even though it's literally like there's a light and dark that they control all the dragons.
Yeah. Like I mentioned how much I really like the scene in this movie where they talk about the Book of Dragons. And obviously we see a lot of dragons there that we would see later on. But in this movie, we only had the Night Fury, the Red Death, the Terrible Terror, the Gronkle, the Hideous Zippleback, the Deadly Natter, the Monstrous Nightmare.
And the
7
coolest
dragons.
one out of those, other than Night Fury, is the Monstrous Nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Red Death.
Yeah.
Well, each of those dragons was a prelude to each of the minus the twins, because they only share one dragon, effectively.
Yeah.
They were just showing later what dragons the kids are going to fly to get to the island.
Yeah. Which yeah, I completely understand why they kind of stuck to that core group of dragons, like for this movie. But I don't know, like I said, it just feels slightly jarring just to see like the second one, which has a crazy amount of really diverse and cool looking dragons, and obviously the shows and stuff like that later on. But like in this movie, it's very condensed, if you get what I'm trying to say.
It's kind of like the Experiment 626 thing, where we only
Yeah.
see 626 and 625 for a while. And then, all the rest, not all, I don't think all 623 are in it, but there's a lot.
But then a lot of extra ones are thrown in.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the same thing with, okay, like how many Pokemon have been made since the original Pokemon series?
There's over 900 now.
Yeah, there's a lot.
That's a lot to design. Same thing with Ben's aliens. On record, Ben has over 1,912 DNA samples in the watch. We've seen about 80 of them,
Probably
and
something like that.
and that's over almost 15 years.
With a lot of different designs, a lot of different encompassing traits and abilities and all that. So yeah, I could totally understand how it's kind of hard to make up designs and stuff like that.
Plus, I don't think they would. Now that they know this movie was probably going to be successful, that's why but they didn't know this movie was probably going to be as successful as it was. So they like, okay, we'll stick to these 7. If we get a sequel, we'll expand. We'll make more dragons.
Yeah, that's why I'm not using it to take away from the grade, because I like I said, that's a nitpick, but it is something that I did notice.
Yeah, but I think all things aside, this is a good movie.
Yeah, everything aside, I love this movie.
The fact we're looking for things to criticize.
Yeah, it's good when you have to nitpick. Like I said, the only it's not even major, but only thing that I really would take away is, like I said, most of the side characters, they mean more later, but in this movie they just don't amount to much.
Okay, for the record, I hated the kid who kept trying to hit on Astrid. He annoyed the crap out of me.
Was it Gustav?
No, Snotlout.
Oh, Snotlout is like
During every one of those training sessions, he was just hitting on her like, dude, pay attention.
Bro,
I know Hiccup's supposed to be the one supposed to be failing. You're the one failing more often, technically.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be like one of the best ones, like among them.
He fell on his face more often.
And I can't remember who he was played by. He's played by a celebrity. I know that. Just like how freaking one of the twins
what's his name?
Snotlout.
Jonah Hill?
Jonah Hill, yeah.
Oh, good lord.
And we have
what are the twins' names?
Rough Nut and Tough Nut.
the funny group of names. Then they have the 2-headed dragon.
Yeah, they had the hideous effect. One of them is voiced by Kristen Wiig.
Yep, yeah, Rough Nut.
And then the other one's TJ Miller.
Yep, Tough Nut.
Freaking weasel himself. I'm surprised Fish Legs wasn't played by Seth Rogen.
Maybe
That would be funny.
Although I don't think Fish Legs actually had like a celebrity voice actor.
Fish Legs? Let me go back. Let me go back again
To be fair, like this movie actually for the most part, minus like those examples I just gave here, mostly kind of strayed away from that. Like the main character isn't really someone you would really call a celebrity voice actor,
he was played by a guy named Christopher Minks-Lees.
Yeah. Unlike other DreamWorks movies, like I'm afraid I don't have to reference it again, but B Movie, it's got Jerry Seinfeld. We mentioned Shark Tale. You know that had
Those movies were purely no. The difference is those movies were basically marketed off of those celebrities.
exactly like even to a certain extent. Even though it's honestly, I think it's great. Even Shrek, you know.
Yeah, it was marketed off of Myers.
And Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, John Lithgow, and freaking Cameron Diaz. When Cameron Diaz was like the coolest celebrity for like a year.
Yeah, so they always do this.
Heck, even in Shrek 2, they brought in freaking Antonio Banderas. So like that's something that DreamWorks was very accustomed to. Ants, it had freaking Sylvester Stallone. Madagascar, that was just a bunch of celebrities. It had David Schwimmer, Ben Stiller, Chris Rock,
Gloria.
Jada Pinkett Smith,
Was it?
Rutro Raggy. I'm trying to think of another example. Road to El Dorado didn't have one. Although from everything I've heard, I'm pretty sure that movie was very like the studio didn't. It was more so in the line with something like Prince of Egypt, where it was actually supposed to be taken seriously.
Okay, I have one. And you love this movie.
What?
Trolls.
Trolls is garbage.
I don't know. I've always loved the stop motion movies. Was it the box trolls?
No, not box trolls.
You're talking about the Justin Timberlake, Anna Kendrick trolls.
Yeah, the music Kill My Grandma trolls.
Yeah, that Trolls. Which has a new movie. Has a new movie coming out soon.
Yep, it's got a sequel. Another one. Freaking what's her name singing freaking Crazy Train in the last one.
And then the Sing movies. The Sing movies were directly based on celebrities.
Yeah. Although
aren't those Illumination movies?
Yeah, it's Illumination, but it's in the same vein of just getting a bunch of celebrities.
Like you have Seth
MacFarlane mouse.
Seth MacFarlane, you got
Tori Kelly.
Taron Eagle, Elton, whoever his name is.
Let's see. Who's in the Sing movie?
Who actually performed I'm Still Standing, an Elton John song, and then
Elton John. Which honestly, I'll give you that one. That was a great casting.
Okay, yeah. So briefly, I'm only gonna say 4 or 5 of these, but
yeah,
we got Matthew McConaughey.
Freaking.
Oh wait, he was the koala.
Yeah, he was the koala.
Let's see. I'm trying to find recognizable names that you didn't already say because we got John C. Reilly. Oh, and Johansson was in this movie.
Yeah, Scarlett Johansson played the porcupine.
Witherspoon's in here, and I'll find one more.
I'm sure there's one more in there.
So you already said MacFarlane.
Yeah, MacFarlane, Tori Kelly. I think those were like kind of the major ones.
Wait, and MacFarlane's saying Sinatra.
Yeah.
What has he got? No, that's not the song he's saying. It was not copyrighted.
Yeah, let's see. Taron Egerton.
That's the guy I was speaking about.
Yeah. It's something that's really permeated through movies for over 20 years now. And like I said, as much as I love Shrek, first Shrek is chef's kiss. It really did reinforce that. Just getting a bunch of celebrities. It wasn't the first one to do it, obviously. I'd say one of the first examples is actually probably Aladdin. You know, getting Robin Williams. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which poor Robin Williams. You know, with how Disney treated him.
Oh yeah.
When he just wanted to voice act.
Yes, you know why he got pissed off?
It's because they showed him in more marketing than he wanted to be in. He was in like Burger King commercials and
not more marketing, any marketing. He didn't want to be in any marketing.
Yeah. Obviously, there was, they were like, hey, you could put me on like the box art and stuff, but that's different. But I know we're kind of getting off topic, but yeah. So yeah, this movie does have a bit of that celebrity-ness, but honestly, it's more in the vein of something like, maybe a weird example, but something like Moana, where it actually has a voice actor very fitting for the main character, and it's just a completely different character that's voiced by a celebrity. It's very weird, but still.
Yep. And very not very popular celebrity nowadays.
Who? Jonah Hill or T.J. Miller?
No, I'm talking about Moana's.
Oh, Dwayne Johnson?
The Rock. No, I'm not very happy with The Rock at the moment.
Black Adam family. It's once again. Oh.
Black Adam family. Once again, we've been afflicted by the rest when you start a revolution against all of DC.
I challenge James Gunn.
I challenged him to a duel. He accepted. We'll see how the gun black fight goes.
Rock, paper, scissors, but it's the guy who brought a gun.
It's like no, he shoots him and he flexes off the bullet. It's like sorry,
Oh wow.
his chest is an assault vest.
That adds an entire new meaning to rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh no. Oh no.
It's like having a gun in a superhero show.
Exactly.
Or an arrow.
I
Oh,
don't know. You can kind of get it with arrows.
but not to stray too far once again. Was there anything else we wanted to mention about the movie before we wrap things
No,
up?
but I want to go a 30-minute monologue about the current economy. Just kidding.
What do we want to talk about more about Matthew McConaughey? Is that what we want to
No,
do?
no. I think we're good.
We can talk about his brief political career.
Okay.
I'm kidding. No, I'm not talking about politics on here.
Please, God, no. But alrighty, that wraps up our episode on How to Train Your Dragon. Next time on the Cabbage Critiques, we'll be taking a look at the first 3 episodes of Person of Interest. So be looking forward to that. On behalf of my friends, Karl and Jacob, this is your favorite Southern Californian son signing off.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Peace, yo.